Hello, everyone. This is Grace. It is February the 18th, 2021. And today we're going to be taking a look at Ezekiel 17. Let's get into it. And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, put forth a riddle, and speak a parable unto the house of Israel, and say, Thus saith the Lord God, a great eagle with great wings, long winged, full of feathers, which had diverse colors, came into Lebanon, and took the highest branch of the cedar. He cropped out. Let's go verse by verse. So, of course, this is God, and he describes himself as a great eagle with great wings, long-winded, full of colors, long-winded, full of feathers and diverse colors, which I like that description. He came into Lebanon. Of course, this is the people of God, and took the highest branch of the cedar, the most holy. He cropped off the top of his young twigs and carried it into a land of traffic. He set it in the city of merchants. The young twigs, of course, would be the leaders. Those would be the greatest. And he carried it into a land of traffic with lots of people and set it in the city of merchants. The city had the gospel. They had the truth. He took also of the seed of the land and planted it in a fruitful field. He placed it by great waters and set it as a willow tree. This, of course, I didn't point it out before, but I hope you all understand that this is a parable. This is a parable. He took also of the seed of the land. So their children were. He gave them the laws of the land. They were set in a fruitful field. They had the gospel. And placed it by great waters, well watered. And a willow tree grows in fertile ground. They don't do well outside of fertile land. So they had water and fertile ground, and all of the circumstances were there for it to prosper. So it did. It grew and became a spreading vine of low stature, whose branches turned toward him, and the roots thereof were under him. So it became a vine and brought forth branches and shot forth sprigs. All is good there. And there was also another great eagle with great wings and many feathers. And behold, this vine did bend her roots toward him, and shot forth her branches toward him, that he might water it by the furrows of her plantation. So, of course, we know this is going to be Satan. So you have God up here, a great eagle with great wings, long-winged, full of feathers and diverse colors. But Satan of his own, he's a great eagle. And he has great wings and many feathers. And behold, this vine did bend her roots toward him. So he planted the vine, but the vine, for no reason, because the vine was prosperous and it grew. But then it decided to turn toward this eagle. It decided just to betray him and turn toward Satan. So that Satan could water it. And Satan could take care of it. Okay, all right. It was planted in good soil by great waters, that it might bring forth branches, and that it might bear fruit, that it might be a goodly vine. Say thou, Thus saith the Lord God, shall it prosper? Shall he not pull up the roots thereof, and cut out the fruit thereof, that it wither? It shall wither in all the leaves of her spring, even without great power or many people to pluck it up by the roots thereof. Okay, so here, of course, we're talking about the desolation, which we've been discussing in Ezekiel. So, and it says that it's going to be overthrown even without great power or many people. And we know that's because we are going to run out of food, and we're going to be over here, and everyone's going to be hungry. So when we're overthrown, they're not going to come over here with guns and bombs and stuff like that and try to overthrow us. No. Many of us will just go willingly, because so many people are going to be dying from starvation. There's no food. And if you're thinking about the stocks of food that we have that are laid up, oh no, because it's going to be a war, and that's going to wipe out any food that we have. People are going to be fighting I think I read somewhere in Sister White's writing that the Jews had enough food for 40 years. If they could have kept it together, they could have held up they had enough food to hold up within their walls for 40 years. But because of internal fighting, they were left with nothing. And we've already determined that there's going to be a civil war over here. So whether it happens before the siege or after the siege, it's going to wipe us out. There's not going to be any food. There's going to be a little bit of food at the beginning because they're handing it out, but it's just such a tiny amount. It's not going to be enough to live off of. And that's at the beginning of Ezekiel. I'm pretty sure we discussed that. Yeah, we've gone through that already. And also, another thing is that you don't want to reserve food during this time. If you remember from our study in the fourth seal, this is the time of the peace offering. That's what that is for. We sit at the Lord's table during the time of the peace offering. When the people would take an offering to God, they would take an offering, and part of it would be burnt, and some of it would go to the priest, and they would make their offering, and then they would, and they would be done with that. Except for the peace offering. When a peace offering was made, everyone ate. A portion went to God, a portion went to the priest, a portion went to that person, who then would take that portion home and share it with other people because it was only good for so many days. He couldn't lay it up. So everyone ate and everyone prospered during that time. And it was symbolic of us eating at the Lord's table. Now, if you've already got stuff stored up, that's fine. Just don't hoard it. Don't do it, because someone with more guns than you, bigger and badder than you, is going to come and they're going to take it from you. And that's what's going to happen, because at some point, people are not going to have anything to lose. People are going to be dying, and it's going to be, hey, they're not going to be moral. And then they're going to be faced with the choice. Do I go over here and rob that man and see if he has food? Or do I die and maybe get shot and die? Or do I just lay here and die? But the choices are death or possibly finding some food by robbing you. So if you have food, okay, you don't necessarily have to give it away. But if anyone comes to you and needs you, give it to them. Take it. Take what you need. Don't hoard it, because it will be taken away from you. Now, the Bible is clear about that. We don't hoard food during times of distress. The Lord sets our table for us. That's what the peace offering is for. Well, and peace, it's for peace as well. But during the time of war, when we have to go through it, then He feeds us. So let's go ahead and continue. Yea, behold, being planted, shall it prosper? Shall it not utterly wither? When the east wind touches it, it shall wither in the furrows where it grew. I think that's self-explanatory. Yeah, let's go ahead. Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Say now to the rebellious house, Know ye not what these things mean? Tell them, Behold, the king of Babylon is come to Jerusalem. So we've already went through it, and now Ezekiel's going to explain it as well. Or now the Bible's going to explain it. Say now to the rebellious house, Know ye not what these things mean? Tell them, Behold, the king of Babylon is come to Jerusalem, and has taken the king thereof, and the princes thereof, and led them with him to Babylon. So this is going to explain Ezekiel 12, which I had such problems with. And this is going to explain that. Let's read on. And has taken of the king's seed, and made a covenant with him, and has taken an oath of him. He has also taken the mighty of the land, and that the kingdom might be based, that it might not lift itself up, but that by keeping of his covenant it might stand. But he rebelled against him in sending his ambassadors into Egypt, that they might give him horses and much people. Shall he prosper? Shall he escape that doeth such things? Or shall he break the covenant and be delivered? We can leave that part. Let's go to Ezekiel 12. Because, I had such problems with this. And my problem was this. This was supposed to be a sign, right? But when we read it, let's read it together. Say thou unto them, Thus saith the Lord God, This burden concerneth the prince in Jerusalem, and all the house of Israel that are among them. So when you're reading it, and I read, okay, this burden concerneth the prince in Egypt. And if it would have stopped there, it would have been all fine and dandy. But then it says, all the house of Israel that are among them. So I was like, okay, how is it a sign then? It says, Say, I am your sign. Like as I have done, so shall be done unto them. They shall remove and go into captivity. If we're going into captivity, how is that a sign? It just is. We're just going into captivity now. It's a little late for the sign. That's why I could not wrap my mind around it. But I didn't look at it carefully enough. So it says, This burden concerning the prince in Jerusalem. And then kind of stop there. And then it talks about all of the house of Israel. So not just Jerusalem, but everyone in the house of Israel. See, what happened was the king was taken captive and his son was made king. So then it starts a new line for the son. And the prince that is among them, so the new king. The king was taken into captivity. His son was made king. And the prince that is among them, not the prince of Jerusalem, the prince that is among them, shall bear upon his shoulders in the twilight, and shall go forth. They shall dig through the wall to carry out thereby. He shall cover his face, and he shall not see the ground with his eyes. My net also will I spread upon him, and he shall be taken in my snare. This is word for word what is said in Ezekiel 17. And I will bring him to Babylon in the land of the Chaldeans, yet he shall not see it, though he shall die there. So the sign is actually the king is going to go into captivity. We will eventually go into captivity or die. Okay, you know what? We got to get off topic here for a second because I have a quick correction I need to make. The entire purpose for that video of the Passover was to let you know that this is the final chance for judgment. If you believe in reincarnation, no, there's no coming back from this. This is why I put in that video the examples of Sodom and Gomorrah and all of these people who are going to come back and judge, because they don't come back. When you go through a Passover, that's it. That's however you die then, that's what the state you're going to be judged in. And I didn't emphasize that enough when I did the Passover video, even though that was one of the primary reasons why I did it. So I'm telling you here, if you do believe in reincarnation, just understand that this is it. This is it. If you are here during that Passover, then you will not be coming back until the day of judgment. Everyone's going to die. Another mistake that I often make, which I've corrected many times, but I can't seem to stop making the same mistake, is that when I talk about the judgment, I speak in terms of America. It's not just America. It's all Christians. It's all Christians. In all of the nations that, where they are, and all Christians that know the truth, we all go under judgment during this Passover. In the state that you die in, or if you're the 144,000, of course, you're taken to heaven. But if you die during this time, that's how you are judged. This is your judgment. This is your last chance to get it right. But anyway, so now that clears this up, though. Back to this. That clears this up for us. So the king will go into captivity. And, I actually marked this so that we could go look at it. Hold on. Why did I mark this? I can't remember. Oh, so... Jehoiachin was 18 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned in Jerusalem 3 months, and his mother's name was Nehushta, and the daughter of Elnathan of Jerusalem. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his fathers had done. At that time the servants of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up against Jerusalem, and the city was besieged. And Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came against the city, and his servants did besiege it. And Jehoiakim, the king of Judah, went out to the king of Babylon, he and his mother, and his servants, and his princes, and his officers. And the king of Babylon took him in the 8th year of his reign. And then Zedekiah was made the king in his stead. Incidentally, it's not pertinent to our study. But where is it at here? Jehoiakim, right here. This Jehoiakim is the Jehoiakim which I believe is being referenced in Ezekiel. So this is not this King Jehoiakim right here. It tells you, it's not very clear, but if you look at the wording, it's clear. It says, and Jehoiakim, the king of Judah, went out to the king of Babylon. Then it says right here, and he carried away Jehoiakim to Babylon. He said, he and his mother and his servant and his princes and his officers. And the king of Babylon took him in the 8th year of his reign. Then you come down here and it says, and he carried away Jehoiachin. There are 3 sons that are listed. Zedekiah is one. I can't remember the name of the other. And then Jehoiachin. And it's important that you understand that this is the 3rd son whose name was not changed officially, because he is in the line of Judah. He is in the line of Jesus. Otherwise, you're going to go thinking that this one is in the line of Jesus, and that's not possible because he was cursed. It deserves a study on its own, and I may do one. But for now, this will have to do because it's just kind of off the cuff. So he carried away Jehoiakim of Babylon, and instead of going to and his mothers and servants and princes, it says, and the king's mother and the king's wives and his officers and the mighty of the land. Those carried he into captivity from Jerusalem to Babylon. So let's go on. What verse were we on? Hold on. Here we go. But he rebelled against him in sending his ambassadors into Egypt, that they might give him horses and much people. Shall he prosper? Shall he escape that doeth such things? Or shall he break the covenant and be delivered? As I live, saith the Lord God, surely in the place where the king dwelleth that made him king, whose oath he despised, and whose covenant he brake, even with him in the midst of Babylon, even with him in the midst of Babylon he shall die. So he betrayed God, and then he turned around and he betrayed the king. Well, the people betrayed God, and then of course he betrayed his covenant with this king as well. Neither shall Pharaoh with his mighty army and great company make for him. And the reason why this is kind of bad is because in the Bible, if you make an oath, you're supposed to stand by it. And he might have even had him make this oath in the name of God. A king is not going to say, okay, you make this oath in the name of my God, because you might not care about his God. So he's going to have him make an oath in the name of his God, the Lord God. And then he turned around and he broke the covenant. He went against his king and his God by doing that, by making that oath. Anyway, let's continue on. Neither shall Pharaoh with his mighty army and great company make for him in the war. Let's start that over. Neither shall Pharaoh with his mighty army and great company make for him in the war by casting up mounts and building forts to cut off many persons, seeing he despised the oath by breaking the covenant, when lo, he had given his hand and had done all these things, he shall not escape. Therefore thus saith the Lord God, as I live, By his life he's swearing. Surely mine oath that he's despised. Oh, he did make it in the name of God. Okay. Surely mine oath that he despised, and my covenant that he hath broken, even it will I recompense upon his own head. And I will spread my net upon him, and he shall be taken in my snare. This is the quote that's taken straight out of Ezekiel chapter 12. And I will bring him to Babylon, and will plead with him there for his trespass that he has trespassed against me. And all the fugitives, let me think about it, hold on. My oath which he has despised, and my covenant which he has broken. No, I think he might be talking about the laws of God there. He might be talking about the laws of God there. But either way, it's against God. It's a covenant that was made with God, or in his name, that was broken and despised. And all his fugitives with all his bands shall fall by the sword, and they that remain shall be scattered toward all winds. And ye shall know that I, the Lord, have spoken it. Isn't it funny how God has to keep proving himself? What we don't see, we constantly need. It's just so strange. It's just so strange when you want to and you can't just turn it off and turn it on. You want to do the right thing. You really do. I don't know. But here he is. And he says, and you shall know that I, the Lord, have spoken it. As if there was doubt, With all of the things, all of the examples that he has had of God in his life, being in the nation of God. And yet, the Lord has to prove himself. Let's continue on. Thus saith the Lord God, I will also take of the highest branch of the high cedar, and will set it. I will crop off from the top of his young twigs a tender one, and will plant it upon an high mountain and eminent. Of course, this is the last day, the 144,000 of the last days, not the ones that are taken away. But crop off the top of his young twigs a tender one. So those are the ones that come back, or the ones that remain at the last days. And he's going to plant it upon a high mountain and eminent. In the mountain of the height of Israel will I plant it, and it shall bring forth boughs and bear fruit, and be a goodly cedar, and under it shall dwell all fowl of every wing. In the shadow of the branches thereof shall they dwell. And I hope you all recognize this as the time of restitution, which we named it. And all the trees of the field shall know that. But for those who have not seen that video, it's spoken of in Revelation 14, and that is the time when God's people shall all of the good things in the Bible, after Jesus takes his throne and his kingdom, and he's able to bless his people here on earth, and they prosper on earth and thrive. So the last verse. And all the trees of the field shall know that I, the Lord, have brought down the high tree, have exalted the low tree, have dried up the green tree, and have made the dry tree to flourish. I, the Lord, have spoken and have done it. So, again, he has to prove himself. But we are going to stop there. I think we said enough about that chapter. I will see you in the next video.